Hey everyone, welcome back to another devlog for Infernomon. Infernomon is a solo game dev project where I've taken inspiration from 3 of my favorite childhood games and stories to make my dream game. I have a monster collecting aspect that's similar to what you might see in Pokemon. I've added a twist of Harry Potter where you attend school and learn school subjects that will then help you in battle. And then I've added a dungeon battling experience that's similar to what you might see in World of Warcraft, but in a solo experience version. In the game, you will battle in increasingly difficult dungeons, collect powerful loot, level up your school professions, and conjure rare and powerful Infernomon. Alright, so in the game's current state and where we left off last video, the Infernomon in the inventory bags have a mouse hover event. So when you hover over an Infernomon, it shows their name, stat totals, the name of their equipped pendant, and you can also see these little gems next to the pendant that are socketed onto the pendant. In each corner we have the level, rating, role, and elemental types. So to finish this view off, there are a few more things I need to display, such as the individual stats, the attacks, the pendant stats, the dungeon score, and the rarity. Currently the positioning of the hover you can see is completely dependent on where the mouse is. So when you hover over an Infernomon on the right, it just goes off the screen, so we'll fix that too. So without further ado, let's get to work. Okay, so everything we wanted to display is now displaying. Pendant stats are now showing. These stats here will change dependent on what pendant you have equipped and are included in the stat totals. So for example, if I remove the pendant off the Infernomon, this stats over there on the left, the total stats will drop. Now in the middle, we are displaying images of the Infernomon attacks, and then in the bottom left, we are showing the individual stats. And so the individual stats are what make up the Infernomon's rating, which is that star rating that you see at the top right. And they also contribute to the Infernomon's stat totals. Infernomon are also assigned a random boosted stat when they are conjured. So you can see this green arrow next to this Venonid's HP stat shows that that stat is boosted, and that the boost is a 10% stat boost to that stat. But if I hover over a different Infernomon, so for example this Coconut, the buff stat is the special defense stat down there that's second from the bottom on his individual stats. The dungeon score is also displaying on the bottom right. This score will go up when you defeat dungeons and is higher depending on how hard the dungeons are, but all these Infernomon are just level 1 and I haven't beaten any dungeons with, so all of them have a dungeon score of 0. Then at the bottom we are just simply displaying the rarity of the Infernomon. Also, you may have noticed, but the positioning of the hover is now dynamic and no longer goes off the side of the screen. I've also added in this expand animation, which I think makes the UI more smooth and makes it easier to navigate around the bag, since when you move off a slot, you have a small window of time where you can see the other slots before another hover is completely displaying. And now to kind of break down the code structure, the way this is structured in GameMaker Studio, we have an object called main HUD, which actually isn't a perfect name. It works and it displays both HUD and UI elements. Inside of the main HUD object, we have a draw GUI event that will display different HUDs depending on whether you are in the castle or in a dungeon. So we are in the castle at the moment. We call this script called display castle HUD. And this HUD is what gets displayed down here at the bottom right. So that function, display castle HUD, is responsible for displaying this. And then in the display castle HUD, when this team builder button gets clicked, Castle HUD script then calls the script that renders the team builder. And so inside of my scripts, I have this HUD GUI folder, then underneath display, and then underneath team builder, here's all of my scripts that are responsible for displaying this team builder view. And the script that is primarily responsible for displaying this view is this display team builder script, which is very long at the moment and has a lot going on. And also the way the drawing works inside of GameMaker Studio is the very last thing in your script that you call to get drawn to the screen will get drawn on top of everything else. And so one of the very last things I do after I display the team builder active roles, which includes the role icons, the Infernomon, and also display the bag tabs. And after I display the team builder, is I call this display Infernomon hover to make sure it draws on top of everything else, so you don't get the hover displaying underneath any of the bag or the team builder or anything like that. So that's what we have working right now. Next thing I want to do is focus on styling. There's a lot of things on both the team builder view and on the hover that I don't love and would like to touch up. So I will start working that, and I'll see you in a bit. So one of my favorite things about spring here is when the baby ducks at the nearby pond hatch. Last year was my first year in this house, and last spring I was blown away when all of a sudden there was like 50 baby ducks that just appeared out of nowhere. So I've been anticipating the baby ducks coming again all year, and I was super pumped when they finally arrived. I've also loved going on walks this spring. One of the things I sometimes do on my walk, like most adult 32-year-old men, is I play Pokemon Go, which is super nice because I got a Pokemon gym and some Pokestops right by my house. Pokemon Go has been fun because one, I love Pokemon, and two, it makes me walk a little bit more than I normally would. But one thing that kind of pisses me off is that one of the best ways to get experience in the game is by sending and receiving gifts from friends, which is super annoying because you have to do it one at a time. It has nothing to do with Pokemon or walking or socializing, since you're just clicking through a screen forever sending gifts to random people that you just had to add through a Discord that you don't even know. So I hate when people put this random stuff in their game. Like, I get why they do it. They need people to log into their game every day. But it's like, at least make the daily quests something fun. But anyways, yard update. The lawn is doing great. I have Kentucky bluegrass, which does really well in the spring and with this 70-degree weather. We also got some new things starting to bloom. A couple times a day I'll come out to take a break from work and just take a lap around the yard and just enjoy all the scenery. Look at that. When I was mowing the lawn, the neighbor brought over a cookie for Mother's Day, so that was very nice. So in my opinion, when it comes to all this hobby game dev stuff, if there's one thing I have to say I'm the worst at, it would probably be art. Although my game doesn't have any sound yet, so maybe once I start adding that in, I'll find I'm even worse at that. But there are a lot of free sounds out there, so I'm hoping that part will be easy. But what I've been doing, my art in is either Procreate, which is an app on my iPad, or I use Paint.net on my computer, which isn't the greatest app, but it's probably about time I find a new app for doing art. I've used Paint.net for quite a bit now, and it's what I'm used to, so I'll use it for now. I've also come a long way in the art realm, so you should have seen how bad I was a few years ago, so it could be worse, but I'm slowly getting better. But one of the things I did like on the team builder view from the last segment was the wooden team builder background. I figured I'd keep going with that and also add in some stone and parchment, since I think that goes well with the environment of Harry Potter and Hogwarts-esque school type vibe. So here's the final product with all of my art upgrades. We have a piece of parchment behind the entire view. I've added in a little stone header here for the team builder, as well as a stone background for all the bags. I've also added in this wooden background behind the bag Infernomon, and the empty slots just kind of show up as this empty brown square. The bag icons themselves also got updated, and also the background of the Infernomon hover is also a wooden background now. And if you look closely, I've also updated all of the stat icons, which they're super small before and couldn't tell, but I think they look a little bit better now. And so I kind of like the direction I've gone with the art, and we'll probably update my other menus to have a similar type vibe. And I'll just cross my fingers and hope that I don't end up hating this style and end up replacing it all at some point down the road. But the last thing I want to do on this view is add a hover for the role icons over here to describe what the role slots actually are and what buffs they provide. So I will let you know when I'm done with that. So the exercise this month has been pretty consistent. I've been getting about 5 days of working out per week. One thing I've been experimenting with is doing shorter workouts, but doing more high intensity interval training. I wanted to cut my workout time to be able to have some more time with the wife and baby. And this type of workout seemed like a good way to have the best of both worlds, where I'm getting a solid workout but still saving some time. Although I honestly miss the weightlifting. That is more of strength / hypertrophy training, and when I was doing that, I'd also do more jogging and sprinting focused workouts. So next month we'll see what happens. I may go back to the old routine, but just do shorter workouts. Also, the goal to eat healthier was a little bit better than last month. I'm eating healthier foods, but I didn't lose any weight. I just want to lose a couple of pounds off the belly is all. And the Ninja Creamy we bought has kind of been a double-edged sword. We've been making protein ice cream, which is a lot healthier than the fatty sugar-filled ice cream since basically it's just like a frozen protein shake, but when you eat a full pint of it, you're still getting a decent amount of calories. So next month I might take some small adjustments in the diet to where I'm slowly losing weight, but still get to enjoy my nice daily ice cream, because that is one thing I don't want to give up. So we now have the team builder role icon hover working. And just a quick refresher about how the role slots work. If the Infernomon matches the role slot, they get the double slot benefits. But if it doesn't match, then they get 1x the benefits. So for example, in this Venonid here is an assassin, and he is in the assassin slot. So when I hover over this role icon here, I see the role match bonus is providing 2x the benefit. And with that double bonus, his attack is increased by 20%. I still need to get the stats to actually reflect the stat increase though over here on the stats on the right. So that still needs to be done. But let's say I were to swap out Venonid for, let's say, something like a Shello, who is a tank Infernomon. And so now we have a tank Infernomon inside of the assassin slot. So now when I hover over this, the roll match bonus is only 1x. And now his damage increase is only 10% compared to Venonid, who had the matching roll bonus and got a 20% attack increase. So now if we look at the other slots, if we go to the support Infernomon with a 2x bonus will heal the lowest health team member for 10% of their total HP every 3 seconds. But if I were to swap these, and now we have an assassin in the support slot and it doesn't match, we have a 3-second heal cooldown and a 5% heal percentage, which is down from 10%. You can also see when I move Tadlik, since he's a utility Infernomon and doesn't have one of the traditional assassin support or tank roles, he still gets the assassin benefit no matter what slot he is in. Lastly, the tank slot double bonus gives a 10x increase to threat generation. The way threat works is the more threat you produce in battle, the more likely the enemy is to attack you. So the tank's job is to take the focus of the enemies and force the enemies to attack it. Then along with that, they get a 30% defense increase. Then the single slot bonus for non-matching roles is only a 5x increase to threat generation and a 15% defense increase. So that's where we are right now. The next thing I'll be working on is the individual Infernomon page. Right now, if you click on an Infernomon, there's just this empty page here. This view will be similar to the individual Infernomon hover, but will provide even greater detail and functionality. So for example, you'll be able to swap out the pendant that the Infernomon is holding, as well as socket different gems onto that pendant. If your Infernomon can evolve, there will be an option here for evolving your Infernomon. You'll also be able to see your dungeon score for each individual dungeon and so forth. I also wanted to show off this little office upgrade I got. I had some art I commissioned and printed off a 24 by 36 poster. I love the way it looks, although it's a little dark, so I'm tempted to change the brightness of the image and print it again, but it works for now. Next upgrade I have is I ordered some Pokemon Harry Potter Funko Pops that I will be putting on the shelves to match my World of Warcraft Funko Pops. I think that'll be sweet having all the different themes that have inspired my game on this wall, and then I have the game poster on this wall. So super stoked for that. Anyway, thank you all for watching, especially those who made it to the end, and I will see you in the next video.